Hello everyone, the question for today is what is check constraint in SQL Server? So let's take a scenario where there are a lot of voters and they're going to vote, and what we do, we have to make sure that each voter is 18 or older than 18. So we have somebody to check that. So here, if we are taking a voters table and have these columns with voter IDs, first name, last name, and age, we would need somebody to check that the particular row of data or person's row has the age greater than or equal to 18. So we define the check constraint on this particular column, which is the age, where we need to check that the age is greater than or equal to 18. So let's take this table and go ahead and see what happens when you define a check constraint on this age column. So for John Doe, we are entering the data for his age as 56, and the check constraint is going to check if age 56 is greater than or equal to 18. Yes, it is, and then that particular row gets inserted. And for Mary Doe, she's 22 and her age is greater than 18, so that particular row gets inserted into our voters table. And for Adam Smith, he's 18, though he's not greater than 18 years, but he is equal to 18, so that row gets inserted successfully. And but for Jeff Thomas, he's 17. The check constraint is going to check if his age is greater than 18. It's not, so it's not going to get inserted. We can also define the check constraints on character columns, like city. If I want to enter only the details for particular details for people or who belong to the city Paris, so only people with who belong to the city Paris and whose age is greater than or equal to 18 has to be entered in this particular table. So for John Doe, I'm entering the data with the city name as Paris. It clears the check constraint, and that particular gets a go and it gets inserted into the table. And Mary Doe, she's 22 but she's from London. The check condition fails here, so it's not going to insert that particular row into our voters table. And here adding Adam Smith, he's 18 and he's from Paris, so it gets inserted into our table. Jeff Thomas is 17 and he's from Paris, and he will not be inserted into our table. Why? Because he is he what do you say though his city is Paris, but his age is less than 17, so it's not going to get executed because we have defined that the check constraint has to be age greater than 18. And so whenever there is an and, both of these conditions have to be correct, and only then that particular data will be inserted. So Jeff Thomas is not going to be inserted into our voters table. So this is what we learned so far. The check constraint is used to limit a value range that can be placed in a column, and if you define a check constraint on a column, it will only allow certain values for this particular column. So in our example, we used the city has to be Paris. So here is the syntax for adding a check constraint and uh, adding a check constraint for an existing table. So let's go ahead and see how the check constraint works in action. I'm going to move to my SSMS here and create this table called dbo.voters with with voters ID, first name, last name, age, and city. And here is where I'm defining my check constraint and then creating my table in my testdb database. Now here I'm going to insert the data for John Doe. He's 56 and he's from Paris, and this particular row will be inserted successfully because because his age is greater than 18 and he belongs to Paris. So here, for if we insert this row for Mary Doe, she's 22 but she's from London, so what we'll get a error. So let's read what the error is. The insert statement conflicted with the check constraint, and check constraint and the name of the check constraint. The conflict occurred in database test db and the table dbo voter. So if you go here and check the voters table, you can check what are the constraints that are defined here as well. So this is our the constraint that's been defined. So if you see the name of the constraint is same as what the error that you get here. So let's go ahead and enter this data for Aaron Smith. He's 18 and is from Paris, so that gets executed successfully. And for Jeff Thomas, execute it. It's going to give us an error because he is younger and he is 17, and the check constraint uh, does not give a go for that particular row. So here another example for Amanda Walker. She's 17 and she's from London. So both of those conditions fail and this will not be inserted and you would get the same error. So here is what we have, where the age is 56 for John Doe and the city is Paris, and for Aaron Smith his age is 18 and from Paris. So these are the only valid rows that were inserted into your table. So this is how check constraint works in SQL Server. I hope you understood and enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.